What's happening, Internet family? Today is Monday, February 25th, and I'm going to do a brief rundown of some news headlines that I read this morning. Now, I don't really curate this news very carefully. I just kind of go through and look at a few things and read them as quickly as I can. If you like the content, great. If not, I'm open to suggestions. This is just something I'm doing for fun at the moment. Okay, so let's get started. So, the myth of the skilled immigrant, third world college degrees are worthless, a new U.S. immigration study reveals. So, it's no surprise to me that people in the third world would be motivated to fake their credentials in order to get top paying jobs in the United States. And it's no surprise to me that tech corporations in the United States are claiming they need to hire immigrants at a lower wage because they don't have enough American graduates to hire. I don't think that's true. I think they do have enough American graduates to hire. I think that they're just trying to cut costs, but it turns out that most of the people they're hiring don't actually have the degrees or credentials that they're claiming to have, which should be as no surprise to any of us. That's corporations always have a motivation to hit the bottom line, and this is just another example of that. Here's a biochemist, medical science. It says that 5G is the stupidest idea in the history of the world. We're about to install millions of 5G wireless antennas. We've probably already installed hundreds of thousands, and there's been almost no medical testing done on any of these devices. So, it's a microwave frequency and electromagnetic field that we're putting out into the community where everybody's living, children, old people, everybody, and we haven't done any medical testing on these devices. So, and the people who have done the medical testing, of course, quote, medical testing, are giant corporations with motivation to lie about that and save money. So, definitely a worrisome thing. That's on Collective Evolution if you want to read that whole thing. The Senate forbids the Israel boycott, but is it constitutional? It's not constitutional to forbid a boycott. Boycott is it's not only your right not to purchase goods and services from people who you don't want to purchase goods and services from, but it's also a First Amendment issue too, because if you are not allowed to say who you're not spending money with, that's definitely a First Amendment issue. This is a Ron Paul video about it. I highly recommend anything that Ron Paul puts out is super quality. Huge Ron Paul fan. And not only that, but most of the comments are pointing out that for the Senate and the Congress and the president to sign this into law is in fact treason. I agree with that. I think only one member of Congress voted against this. That's Justin Amash. So everybody else in Congress is guilty of treason. I didn't read the numbers on the Senate, but it passed, obviously, so it's a majority. So most of our Senate is treasonous now. Most of our Congress is treasonous now. And, of course, the president signed it into law, so treason again. This article is stating that 4 families in California have been running the California government for years and years and years. There's certainly a compelling case for that if you read this article. But the worrying part is that this is on InfoWars, so I'm always hesitant about InfoWars, but sometimes they stop clocks are right twice a day, and I think InfoWars may be right more than twice a day, but I'm again not a huge fan. They never talk about Israel, so clearly they are Israeli shills and managed dissent at the best. But there's also a private company that controls the internet. Obama transferred the control of the internet domain registration over from ICANN to which was a publicly managed group somewhat. ICANN was already shady, but now there's one private company in California that's controlling the whole internet, so very worrisome. The poli-sci professor Wilfred Riley has found that most instances of hate crimes are hoaxes at this point, and it kind of makes sense. I mean, when was the last time you actually witnessed a legitimate hate crime? I'm sure that they do still occur, but I haven't seen a hate crime personally in years, other than people who are actually friends making fun of each other or something like that. So yeah, so the Jesse Smollett case is obviously a hoax, but this professor has discovered that most hate crimes are in fact hoaxes, which shouldn't come as a surprise in the year 2019. Here's a picture of Jesse Smollett with Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. He is very well connected to top-level Democrats. In fact, there's evidence that he had a phone call directly with Kamala Harris, who the Democratic Party is looking to run against Donald Trump in 2020. And never forget that Kamala Harris slept with a married man who was more than 20 years her senior, and then he gave her 2 different $200,000 a year jobs. So prostitute-elect Kamala Harris is good friends with Jesse Smollett, who just did that fake hate crime. Planned Parenthood kept aborted babies alive to harvest organs, ex-technician says. This is pretty gruesome, but a pro-life group has released a 7th undercover video, and there's definitely something really shady going on. And this is the Washington Times, so this isn't exactly like, this conspiracy theory kind of website. There's definitely been some shady information coming out about abortion recently, so super sketchy. Apparently, Muslims raping Americans is also common, just as it's been common in Europe, and it's been covered up by the mainstream media. And there's another example of that right here. Apparently, the 4 men accused of sexually assaulting an 18-year-old woman earlier this month in Idaho were all Tanzanian immigrants. I don't know if Islam is the de facto religion of Tanzania, but it wouldn't surprise me. So definitely, here's the men here, and I guess one of them was a minor, so you're not going to see him. Yeah, anyway. So apparently, Muslim rapes are happening in the United States and being covered up by the mainstream media as well. In South Africa, one of the major power stations there, power companies there, had 170 billion South African dollars. I'm not sure what the South African monetary note is, but billions of them stolen from one of the main power companies there. And South Africa has been really going through some dark stuff. A guy grabbed somebody's purse and she shot him, and now she is being charged for murder. Warning, this is a graphic image, so if you don't like graphic images, don't look at that. Yeah, he died pretty much on the scene, but the police are now opening a murder case against a woman who was being robbed and then protected herself by shooting this guy. So pretty crazy. Anyway, South Africa, if you haven't followed on, definitely there's been a lot of drama down in South Africa. A lot of people being murdered on their farms and everywhere else, and it's just been pretty dark. So anyway, that's the news for this morning. Hope you all are having a great day, and I will talk to you soon, Internet fam.